All right, welcome everyone. Ken Kors here from Explore Momentum. So excited to be here with you tonight to do something fun that I haven't gotten to do in a while. And welcome to all of you that took the time out of your day or your evening to be here with me to talk about finding your next customer and to talk about marketing. And I love this topic. And in particular, the idea behind this webinar when I got started was really to talk about the materials that I and my team use every single day. And so tonight I'm covering the 5 questions you must ask before you start any marketing effort. Doesn't matter if it's paid or free, doesn't matter if it's online or offline, doesn't matter where you're doing it. When you want to start finding a next customer, these are the 5 questions you should be asking yourself. And we're going to talk about strategy. We're going to give some examples. We're going to get into all that good stuff tonight. But in general, I want you to be familiar with these. And if you're like me, when I get to that slide tonight, you should print that out or write it up and keep it right on your wall with these 5 questions as a reminder of what to do and how to think about the idea of approaching your next customer. So I'm going to jump on and start showing my screen real quick here, and we'll get rolling with the 5 questions you must ask before you start marketing. And so I wanted to start here because people ask me all the time. I have run a marketing consulting firm, and I'll talk a little bit more about that for really my entire career. But in particular, the last 11 years, I've helped train small businesses on sales, on marketing, on how to grow their business. And the one piece of advice that I give everybody when they say, why isn't something working? Why isn't my campaign working? Or why is it when I'm talking to people, it feels like such a struggle? Or what's wrong with this picture? Well, the reality is lack of research and preparation is the ultimate killer of marketing efforts. And I'm going to define marketing because I know some of you that are here don't have any concept of that word. You're brand new to this. You do what you do in your business. You're a coach, or you sell a product, or you're a direct salesperson. Whatever it is, lack of preparation coming into this is what kills most efforts. And I can tell you how most people approach their marketing is they hear from someone else that something's working. So they see a Facebook ad, or they're talking to their friend and they say, hey, what are you up to in your business? And they'll say, oh, well, I went to this event and I met 10 new people and I made this money, or I made these sales. And they'll go, oh, that sounds interesting. I should do that. Or my favorite one is, oh, this guy that I know, he's making a killing running Facebook ads right now, or he's making a killing online. I want to do the same thing. I've heard that a million times. And people who go into it and start spending money and start pushing forward and making efforts without any type of research or preparation normally waste their money. And those are the people that 9 times out of 10 that I'll hear later, that'll come back and tell me, oh, I tried to run Facebook ads and they just don't work. Or internet marketing is silly. It just doesn't work that way. And so lack of research and preparation is the killer of marketing efforts. So a hint for you tonight as we go through these questions is these are going to take care of the research step of what you're doing. They're the step that's going to get you more inside the mind of your potential customer. They're going to get you more familiar with them. And before the end of the evening tonight too, I'm going to share with you some bonuses that you can get that you really have the opportunity to flesh this out further and to have a plan on what you're doing. But here's a secret. Most paid advertising services, doesn't matter what it is, Google, Facebook, the newspaper, radio, whatever, they are very happy to take your money, and they don't always necessarily care about results. Now, sure, it doesn't mean that Google and Facebook don't care about their reputation and they don't want you to be happy and they don't want you to get results. It's not that. But they're actually really happy in general to take your money and not give you any results. And this is the thing I see with Facebook. Like Facebook over the past couple of years has become the dominant platform in online marketing. It's Google and then Facebook. And Google also includes YouTube and all that stuff in there. But the reality is most people casually place ads. You have big companies and corporate teams and ad acquisition agencies and agencies like myself who do these things. And then you have the majority of people who are just small business owners who are out there experimenting and running those experiments. And let me tell you, advertising services are super, super happy to take your money for that. And they don't necessarily care whether or not you get a result. What they care about is, do you adhere to the rules of their platform, and are you willing to pay them for it? And then you look at how online platforms have really changed over the past couple of years, and you'll notice that definitely what started to happen is you have more people placing ads and actually getting less results. And the rules and that stuff is getting stricter and stricter for people who aren't familiar with this. So you got to be clear about this coming in. This is what I mean about doing your homework and why these 5 questions are so valuable to anything that you do. So my goal, first of all, is to make sure that if you're going to do any type of marketing effort, that you're not wasting your time or money, that you're doing things that are going to be really effective for what you're doing, for your business, for your product, for your service, or if you're in a direct sales company or you're selling somebody else's stuff. I just want to make sure that the time you invest in this is worthwhile and effective time. And then beyond that, I want to make sure that you get a return on everything that you do, especially your time, because that's the one resource that you have that you're not going to get back. And so by the end of this tonight, these 5 questions, as I said, are the ones that hang on my wall. They're the ones that are in every office that I work in when I'm working day to day and when I'm doing what I do in my community and in my company. And so for me, I want to make sure that you have those same things so that you don't waste energy and you don't waste money doing these things going forward. And why you should care about it is, obviously, for the most part, most of you out there really work hard on your business and really work hard on what you do. And you can't afford to sink the time and energy and effort into these things. In fact, I was just talking to my partner in the business today about this, and we were talking about a chiropractic agency where they spend all day, every day working with patients. And so their marketing efforts, it's really critical that they get maximum return out of the time that they put in. Now, is marketing magic, and are you going to get leads and customers right away? Maybe not necessarily, but at the same time, the more time and research and effort you put into either building a team around it or asking yourself these questions about your customers, or understanding a lot more about what you're trying to accomplish, the better off you'll be. And I don't want you to be one of those people, and trust me, I've seen this time and time again, that spends thousands or tens of thousands or even 6 figures on systems or technology or marketing efforts or ads or all the stuff that just doesn't work. So you should care about this because your time is really valuable, and your goal should be to get it more valuable over time, and your efforts need to pay off in what you do. And so for those of you who've never met me before, or you're seeing this and you haven't touched base with me for a while, and some of you that I see out there on the session, I haven't seen you in a long time. So I'm super excited that you're here. My name's Ken Kors. I have been a marketing training professional and a small business professional for over 10 years now. And most of all, I just like to work with people. I like to coach. I like to educate. And I've worked in over 10 different verticals. So for me, anything from small business training to nonprofit to education to coaching, which is kind of my specialty, coaches and training, direct sales professionals, real estate. Most recently, we've been working with a fitness company that I'm super excited to work with and get them rolling. And so we've tested the theories we're talking about tonight. We've tested the results. We've tested different ad platforms. We've done online and offline. We've done live events. So all those different things overall, over my career and experience, has been well into the 8 figures as far as spend on these efforts. And that includes time and team and ad budget, and well over 50 million in profits between different programs, big time launches. All those types of things are the types of things that I and my team have worked on over the years. So if you also want to know what I'm passionate about and why I like to do this, because yeah, we run an agency, we help people place ads, we help people build websites. But for me, I just love the transformational process. And I love to show this picture because on the left was me just about 5 years ago now, 6 years ago now. I was over 300 pounds. And I understand that if I'm going to teach you how to change and I'm going to teach you how to get results in your business, I have to show you the types of results that I get. And it isn't all just about business. Sometimes it's about transforming yourself. And for me, that's me on the right. That's me pretty recently, actually, after I lost 100 pounds and after I went through my transformational process so that I could be better for you. And the same thing is true with all this marketing stuff. I've tested this for years. We continue to test new things every single day in my agency. And I understand that training and change and transformation comes from within to get things done. Then the other thing, I always put this as a disclaimer, I talk really fast. For those of you who've been here for the 9 minutes that we've been going so far, you're probably like, oh, I'm already worn out. I'm already ready. I talk fast. The good news for you is there will be a replay available of this for you to watch and go and take notes again. I admit, as I get deeper into the content and I get more excited, I tend to talk faster rather than slower. So have your notes ready, but I want you to be assured that you're going to get a copy of this that you can review for a short time after this session. And so you will be able to go through the notes again. And we have a lot of ground to cover tonight in what we're doing. And then there's a bonus when you stay to the end tonight. I already mentioned it a little bit earlier, but I want to talk more about what that is and give you a little something for sticking around to the very end and spending the time with me. So, and then one other thing, why should you listen to us? This is just an example, an Infusionsoft installation for a client that we've been working with. Now, I want you to keep in mind, although these numbers are pretty big and everybody likes to show off their big numbers, at this point, these are across 5 different campaigns that we were running, all of which were running at pretty moderate budgets. We were looking at things like $20 to $50 a day on our various ad spends. But when you sum up all the parts of this campaign, and this is the Infusionsoft dashboard that we're showing right there of the earnings, we spent $23,134.53, which was the result of all of those campaigns. And in those campaigns, and we were focused on online sales and training in this, we made over $87,000 in sales. So an ROI of 379% on this campaign. And what that really means is my client handed me $1 and I handed them back $4. And so for a lot of you who want to have those types of results, or would even be happy of spending $1 and getting $1.50 back, or spending $1 and getting $2 back, I really hope that you take notes. I hope that you listen. I hope that you send me a picture on my Facebook of the notes of these questions, like on a Post-it note right on your computer or hanging on your wall, just like I do. And I need to take a picture of my various ones of these questions because I keep them wherever I am as a visual reminder for me of how to get things rolling. But a lot of you need these types of results. They're critical to your business to be able to invest in your business and yourself this way. And then one quick disclaimer I always give, I like to make sure my webinars aren't fluffy. They're valuable. We're talking about stuff I actually do and actually works. But even in this hour that we're going to spend together tonight, doing one webinar alone, even if it's the most awesome webinar ever, and I really strive for these things to be good, it's not going to guarantee you the results. It can't teach you every single step of the process, and it's not going to do the work for you. And that's pretty much the critical one. If it's not going to do the work of actually answering these questions for you, and it's not going to do the work of actually executing the efforts, you've got to commit to doing that. And you've got to commit to activating these things. And trust me, this is as simple as posting these on a desk and keeping those going for you. And the other thing that's important, and I put this in a lot of the material when I was promoting this webinar and getting you guys here, you don't have to be a professional marketer to be a good marketer. And in fact, I think a lot of times people who master marketing aren't the people who went to school to train to be marketers, or they don't have MBAs in marketing, or they're not business majors. They're people who understand people. And that's going to lead us into the first question tonight. But what you have to understand more than anything is good marketing is about good relationships. It's about great conversations. It's about things that get other people excited and things that get you excited. So when you start getting into the technicals, or when we start talking about ad platforms or traffic or websites or anything that you don't feel comfortable with in your business, in fact, the people who feel the least comfortable with technology, in my experience, tend to be some of the best marketers because they understand people. And they understand what people want and how people behave and what's important to them. And those skills translate really, really well into marketing efforts, understanding what people want and how to give it to them in the simplest possible way. So don't be concerned if there's stuff you hear tonight or tactics we talk about or anything that you want to know that you're like, man, I don't know that I fully understand that, or I don't know if that applies to me in my business. But you don't have to be a marketing professional to be a really good marketer. You just have to understand people and really at the end of the day want to serve them, which again, I'm hinting at the questions a little bit we're going to go into. But keep these handy. They're important for what you're doing. And let's just talk about the golden rule of anything that you do. I don't care what vertical you're in. I don't care what product or service you have. I don't care if it's direct sales. Doesn't matter what it is. There's one rule. Care about your customers and they'll care about you. What I see in bad marketing most of the time is someone that's focused on how they do what they do, or how they deliver what they deliver, or a methodology that they're in love with, or an idea that they're in love with. In fact, over the years, one of the things that I was coached and mentored on a lot was understanding I'm a person that I love new things. I love new ideas. I love to experience new things. I love new technology and new platforms. Those are some of my favorite things to do. And that takes you out of the moment in dealing with your customers and understanding what they care about and what they want or why they're doing what they're doing. And we're going to talk more about that because I had a great Facebook Live a little bit earlier today, which I'm going to share a little bit about it because it came down to this message about caring about your customers and why they'll care about you. And that really matters. And that shows up in the form of follow-up. It shows up in your marketing message. It shows up in your copy. It shows up on your websites. People intuitively know whether you care or not about the results and whether you care or not about what they want. And if you're not a marketer, let's talk about what you need to know about marketing. Because I think that most people who go into business, and this tends to be true, aren't people that went into business to be great marketers. You didn't do it for that reason. You went into business to do whatever it is you do. You went into business to help people feel better about themselves. You went into business to teach somebody something. You went into business to sell a great product or market a great product. And so in this case, you just have to know what are the basics about marketing. And when I use that term, if you use other terms, like some of you might use recruiting or prospecting, which we'll talk about tonight, there is a difference between those things and marketing. So I want to start at the very beginning at step one by saying, what is marketing and why does it matter? So marketing is the start of a conversation. Everybody that's on this call has marketed themselves in some way or another. You've marketed yourself to friends. You've marketed yourself in relationships. I want you to think about times in your life when you've had truly fascinating and great conversations with somebody, because those are forms of marketing. All marketing is really getting you to do is pay attention and go, me too, or go, yes, I care about that. That's what marketing really is. And all the technical definitions of lead generation and online marketing and funnels and all the stuff that I know and love pales in comparison to being a good conversationalist and understanding that marketing is just the start of a relationship. Every time I'm reaching out to somebody, I have to think that there's a person on the other side, and no skill or tactic for the most part is going to wow them. Me caring about them is what's going to wow them. And then sales is the natural progression of that relationship. So I'm going to start a conversation with you, and then eventually I'm going to ask you a question, or I'm going to ask you to do something. That's all sales is. There isn't some unnatural progression that happens between them. But these two things get blended and mixed up all the time because you can't sell without having conversations, without having people to talk to. But also the goal of marketing is sales. So those two, for a lot of people in your mind, gets interchanged. And you don't want to do that. They require separate focus. They require separate energy. And they sure lead into each other, but they're not the same thing. And so what I also want to talk about is marketing versus prospecting or recruiting, especially for those of you that are out there in direct sales and you're familiar with those terms, and that's how you were trained. Your marketing has a cost no matter what. Most of you don't calculate it properly because most of you only think about budget and you say, I don't have it, or I don't have enough budget, or I'm not sure where I should invest my budget. But your time is a cost as well. And so when people use the word prospecting or recruiting, that's just spending time to create those relationships and start those conversations. That's handing out flyers. That's getting business cards. That's going to networking events. That's talking to friends and family. That's all of the difference between prospecting and recruiting and marketing is. Marketing just gives you more options because you can spend time to market, and that's marketing too. It's pretty interchangeable. But you can also spend money, or you can combine the two. And what I find is the efforts that are the most successful tend to combine both. They require an investment, but they also require time for you to spend and focus for you to spend. And at a very bare minimum, they require you to do some research on your target market and on your clients to get things moving. But prospecting and recruiting one-on-one is pretty simple. You reach out to friends, family, colleagues, people that you already know, connections, former coworkers, Facebook friends, whatever it is, you're reaching out to them. And then you're gauging their interest level. So you're asking some questions and you're trying to figure that out about them. And then you ask them who else they might know that would be interested. So you say, all right, if it's not them or if they become a customer, then you're following the path. And so, that's how all direct sales companies really work. But that takes a lot of time. And what you tend to find over time is that you're undervaluing what you're worth. In fact, in my Facebook ads course that we recently ran, most of the people who did the calculation that I taught them in that course of what their hourly value was worth were in the $10 to $12 range. A lot of you out there who are entrepreneurs might be better off working at Starbucks while you're building your business because you're going to get paid more there. And I don't want that for you because you undervalue your time and what your time is worth. So a lot of times money can buy you that time back. or money can replace the things that you would spend time doing if you approach those things properly. So in a recruiting model, it's all time. It's all trading time to find those people. But then in a marketing venue, you're identifying a particular group of people. So you identify a particular client or you identify a particular audience. What are their traits? What are they about? And all those things that matter. Then you choose a strategy or a channel on how you're going to start a conversation with that audience. And it doesn't matter whether it's online, offline, whatever. It's the same rules. It's the intent of going out and starting a conversation that goes beyond the one-on-one. It's building a platform. It's creating a system. It's what your website should be doing for you. All those things are so critical. And then you got to research and understand what relationship path makes the most sense so that you're not moving too fast, so that you're not trying to push them into things that they don't want, so that you're not trying to take them forward. And so I understand that some of you who understand marketing or who have a little more skills or who want the technical, you blow past this. You're like, yeah, I've heard this a million times. I've heard dating versus marriage. I've been on webinars. I know the basics of marketing. But what happens is when you get into the tactics, you get into the minutia, you start losing sight of the bigger picture of what this is all about. And some of you end up right back in recruiting land where you're spending all of your time going out and generating customers. And then you're not thinking about the budget side, or you're not thinking about the larger audience, or you're not thinking about all of those things in the terms of how they're going to make you successful. So you want to keep those divisions in mind, especially between prospecting and recruiting, and then marketing, and then sales, because they're all three distinct things that have three distinct strategies. So what do you got to have if you're going to market? And these questions are going to help get you there tonight. We're going to talk about specifics and examples and break this down a little. But what do you got to have to get you there? You got to have a specific person, you have to have a specific solution, and you have to have a specific request. These things are not negotiable. And this is the challenge that you have. Where is this specific person? What's the specific solution you offer them? And what specific request are you going to make? That can't be 10 requests. That can't be 100 requests. There has to be a progression that moves you through a system. So when people talk about funnels or all the fancy online stuff or automation or Infusionsoft or all these different things, this is what it boils down to. For those of you who are not techie or who don't want to do that or are trying to break the code, you see this and you go, well, duh. Because this is what I do every day. I shake hands, I meet people, I go to my chamber event or my networking event, or I meet people at events and move them forward. And I know that they want something specific, and then I just give it to them. And so in this case, you've got to understand that for marketing, these questions are going to help get you in that direction. But you can't market without this. You can't market without it. And then the question you have to ask yourself over time, and what these questions are going to get you to, is that request the right request? Because for so many of you out there, that's the challenge. You have the thing that you create, that you want, the thing that you believe, the after state for you, and that isn't what the customer wants right away. It isn't what they need. It isn't what they're looking for. And so you have value mismatch. You have an offer that doesn't make sense for that particular client or for that particular person. And one disclaimer before I even get to the questions, for the most part, most of us tend to think of our customers as being a lot like us, which they may not be. Your customers might not be anything like you. They may not think the way you think. They may not act the way you act. And then B, the other thing is we tend to think of them as being further ahead than they actually are. Like we think, oh, well, I wouldn't have had that problem, but we already know the solutions. We already know how to get through certain problems or the problems that they have right now. So we're standing in a very different perspective than most of our customers and understanding where they're at. So geez, get to these questions already. We're 20 minutes in and we've talked about a lot of the theory, but I wanted for my non-marketers out there to have a context coming into this conversation. Understanding what I mean when we talk about marketing, understand what I mean when I talk about recruiting and sales, because these questions that we're asking tonight are directly related to your marketing, your effort of identify your audience, your effort of understand where they're going, and your effort of how do you capture them most effectively. So let's get to these questions, and I'm going to recap them at the end, but write them down. And trust me, as you go through this process tonight and you start thinking about these simple questions, which these are not in alien language, they're not in technical language, they're not going to be so far beyond anybody on this call that you're going to go, oh, this is so far beyond, I don't understand. And for a lot of you, they're just really simple. They're really simple to get you inside the head of your customer. So question one, question the first. What problem do you solve? And so let's break that down a little bit more. So maybe you solve this guy's problem who apparently can't hold a TV tray, and that's the problem that he's got. But what problem do you solve? And you got to say it in a sentence or less. It's just got to be simple. In this case, you teach this guy how to hold a tray, or you get this guy a tray that he sets stuff on so he doesn't have to sit down moving it. And I love bad infomercials, as you can see from what's on the screen here. And so you'll see lots of silly stuff on here. Thanks for loving the pictures, by the way. But in reality, we got to get this guy a better tray. That's the problem that he has. Or teach him how to eat or something, or go back to first grade, or whatever his issue is. But you got to be able to say it in a sentence or less. It can't be so complicated or convoluted that somebody gets bored listening to the explanation. And then it needs to be a real problem. And I underlined this. It can't be a problem that you made up. So it has to be something that in all of us we've got in common, or it has to be something that matters to us, that we care. And that problem might just be something like looking cool or looking better, which I'm going to get to that in the examples phase tonight. But it has to be a real problem in the minds of someone else. We tend to, again, project our problems and the things that we believe in our systems onto other people. But if you've never heard a customer say it to you, or you've never sat in a conversation and they've said those words, and those words don't appear anywhere in your product or service or anything that you're doing, then you've got to reevaluate. You've got to say, is this really the problem that someone has? Is this really the thing that they care about? And is this solution matching that problem? Because for the most part, I find, especially when I start with companies, they don't really understand the customer's perspective. They understand the solution perspective, which is nice, but that's not what the customer's thinking about. They're thinking about their problem. This guy is thinking about how his dinner's on the floor right now. And so he's not going to be able to hear a system that helps you, keep your tray solid and all those things and all the ways that you solved it and all the engineering that went into it and all the stuff that matters. He's not thinking about that. He's sitting there going, my dinner's on the floor. I just wanted dinner. What's wrong? How do I solve this problem for him? And then you got to also understand how much your customer cares about it. So in the grand scheme of things, this guy who can't hold a tray probably isn't going to be thinking about this a week from now or a month from now. Maybe unless he's telling it as a silly story to somebody else, or he's saying, wow, I really screwed this up. But for the most part, he's probably not thinking about this a week from now or a month from now or a year from now or 5 years from now. And so you've got to understand how much your customer cares about this problem. And this also doesn't mean that you have to save the world. So this could just be a mild annoyance, like something like that, where it's just really mild and, it solves a minor problem, and that's where you start, and that's okay. And for a lot of introductory products, for a lot of things that bring people in, just solving a little problem that they have can really get you into their lives in different ways. When somebody buys left-handed scissors, then at that point, they're going to realize how convenient their life is with those and look for other left-handed products. So that doesn't necessarily mean we're saving the world for them, that they now have left-handed scissors. They probably could have survived without it, but they want it because it makes their life a little better. And there's lots of things and lots of products and lots of programs that just solve mild annoyances, and that's okay. This is one of the issues I have with a lot of business training these days, is the fact that everybody wants to save the world and everybody's project or program has to, change everyone's lives. And sometimes the most valuable products just take care of something really simple. Like I look at a good example for right now, you look at a company like Dollar Shave Club, who realized that people were tired of paying $25 a pack for razors. And there's still a market out there for people that pay $25 a pack for razors. But it's really annoying, and I want to save you $20, and so I charge you $1 for that razor. That's just a mild annoyance, but that's still really valuable. So solving irritating things is just as important as solving when their house is on fire, like this. So some of you are really solving the house on fire, and you're firefighters, and some of you are just mild annoyance people. That's okay to be both. And I really want to reiterate when you answer this question that not everything you do has to end up in some enormous answer that's about changing lives, or that's about really fixing every problem that's wrong with them, or giving them therapy, or, really going in and changing their lives and their communities and their families. You don't have to do that. And the answer to this doesn't have to be so vast that it's beyond the customer's understanding, or that it's crazy deep or crazy big. For some of you, if you're a mild annoyance solver, just be that and be okay with it. Go, you know what? Cutting with right-handed scissors when you're left-handed is not fun. I did something to take that away. That's a one sentence explanation that gets the point across for what you're trying to do. So don't worry if your answer is simple. You're thirsty, I give you something to drink. That's okay. It can be that simple. And simplify more, even if you are a firefighter and someone that's doing that, because for the most part, people aren't going to let you into this house, no matter how bad their problem is, unless they trust you and they know you and you look right for what they're doing. Like, you got to understand coming in that most people want to start at the mild annoyance level with you. And then if you think about not solving world hunger, here's a great example of a product that was probably the most irritating advertisement of all time. Head On, apply directly to the forehead. They literally just repeated the message 4 times over and over. It solved headaches. It wasn't trying to solve world hunger. And it was popular for a period of time. And so, again, don't worry about being the best, about solving everyone's problems. And I find way too many early entrepreneurs or starter businesses approach marketing like it is the end all be all for most people. And your customers probably aren't thinking that way. So just boil it down. What problem do you solve? At the end of the day, you solve one problem for somebody. What is it? And is it big or small? That's really the question. So let's get to question 2 now. Who is the person that has this problem? Obviously, if this problem exists, if it's real, if you can identify it, people have headaches, and that's what Head On worked on. Who's the person that has this problem? And what are they thinking about? So this guy can't keep his cheese curls on the arm of his armchair and talk on a very old phone, apparently, which is what he's doing right there. So first of all, do they talk about this problem or do they keep quiet? So when you think about the person, you got to understand, is this guy going to tell people that he can't keep his cheese curls on his chair? Maybe. It's probably not that embarrassing. For some of you, you deal with things that are just cheese curls on the floor. For others, you're dealing with personal things like health and wellness or weight loss or, adult products or all of those types of things. This must be from the 90s phone. Nice comment there. True, could be. But do they talk about this problem or keep quiet? Because that gives you some clues about how to market to this person or how to talk to this person. If it's something that they feel some shame around or something that they're not super comfortable with, or there's any issues in there, you want to think about that in your approach or in your conversation or in your marketing material. And then who do they talk about it with? Or if it's private, they don't talk to anybody about it. So you have to understand that when you're approaching the subject or when you're creating copy or when you're writing ads or when you're doing whatever it is that you're doing in here, who do they talk about it with? Because this gives you some clues of, can you be that person that they talk about this issue with? And if it is a private issue, you might actually have some luxury there as somebody that doesn't know them, because they may be willing to talk about it because that you don't have any stake in it for them or you're not related to them in a way that's important. But then you got to ask yourself, how often do they deal with this problem? So does this guy just do this once and then he's like, oh, that was silly, I don't really care about it that much? Or this is something he does every single day and it's breaking his family apart and his kids are sick of him and his carpet is orange and he can't take his calls anymore, and it's ruining his life that he's doing this over and over and over. Because one of the things that happens in your ad messaging, or one of the things that happens in your emails, or one of the things that happens in your conversation is, because you are a solution to somebody's problem, you might tend to overstate your importance. And if this is a guy that does this, once a year and doesn't have that much of a problem, you don't necessarily need to overstate your importance in what you're doing. You can just be what you are, and that's okay in this conversation. So are you someone that protects the cheese curls? Again, what I'm getting from the theme of these infomercials is that these guys just need TV trays, or they need a tray that sits on the side so that they're not knocking stuff over when they're trying to do other things. But at this point, you got to ask yourself, all right, the person who has this problem, are they willing to talk about it or not? Is it a common problem or not? Is it private or not? And how often do they deal with it? Is it every day? Is it once a month? Is it once a year? And be fine taking your position within the answers to those questions, because it does matter. And again, in plain English, the more that you get in touch with this about how they think about the problem or what they say about it, the better off that you're going to be. So let's go on to question 3. Question the third. Question number 3. What will they experience when the problem is solved? And I want you to focus on the feelings. That's why I used the word experience. I didn't use the word how. I didn't use the word what they were going to do. I didn't use the word what they were going to take or how it's going to work or any of that stuff. what are they going to feel like when the problem is solved? So cheese curls guy is probably going to not feel silly because he's spilling his cheese curls all over the place. So he's going to feel some relief, or he's going to feel more comfortable, or he's going to be more relaxed in his home. You got to think about, what do they experience when the problem is solved? Or will you feel like this and want to dance like that when the problem is gone? So what does it mean for their life and their business? And again, focus on the feeling terms right here. Don't worry so much about what it does or how it does it. You want to ask yourself, what does it mean for their life and business when this headache is gone? So when they use the head on and their headache is gone, they might feel silly using the product. They might look at it and go, this is chapstick for my forehead. They might do whatever it is, but you got to ask yourself, when the headache is gone and they feel better, they don't care about how they did it. For the most part, they don't care about what the methodology was. They don't care about the work that you put into it. They don't care about the time that you invested into coming up with the chapstick for your forehead. They just care that their headache is gone, or that their business is better, or that their wellness is improved, or that they have left-handed scissors. Doesn't matter what it is, that's what they care about. And then if it creates a specific result, which left-handed scissors may only be really an emotional result, like it's nice and it's more comfortable, and sure, they may not have wrist pain or whatever it is, but that's not necessarily a result that's agonizing for people. But like this webinar, I want this webinar to generate you customers. So in this case, you got to be clear on what that result is, and be really specific about what it is. And a statement you can use for this is, when you use this, or when you do this, you get. So when you ... you get, or this happens. Like really specific, and draw it out that specifically, again, in one sentence. And then once they've fixed it and once they've solved it, do they actually want to share this result with other people? Like, is this something that they want to share with other people and tell them about? Like Cheese Curls guy, I don't know if he wants to admit to the world that he spills his cheese curls all over the place. But in your case, you have to ask yourself that question, because a lot of people will ask for referrals, or their pressure for results, or they'll move things forward without realizing that this is probably not something that you're going to get a lot of cooperation talking about, or you're going to have to ease them into the idea, or that follow-up process is going to be really important in what they're doing. So will they want to share that result with others is a really important question to ask, because when it's gone, you have to know whether or not they're actually going to do that thing going forward. And so again, the severity of the problem, from trade guy to cheese curl guy to somebody that feels uncomfortable about their body and uncomfortable about themselves, might be an important distinction depending on who the person is. And again, this is all about getting specific about the person and asking yourself the good questions about saying, all right, what does this person want? What do they care about? What do they talk about? Where do they hang out? And that takes us to question number 4, question 444 at this point. What happens if they don't solve the problem? And this is the thing I think people underuse the most. You do not look at this enough to say, what happens if they take no action at all? What happens if they stand still? Or what happens if things get worse? So I love this picture. This is fine. You just sit in the fire. For some people, they're totally comfortable to do this, especially my mild to moderate annoyance people. A lot of times they're just cool spilling their cheese curls all over the place. They'll clean it up week after week, and it's not that severe to them. So it's your job to remind them of the consequences. Like I was mentioning earlier, maybe there's some sort of Armageddon scenario where the cheese curls on the floor is really going to ruin lives, and it's going to ruin families, and it's going to crush people's spirit, and it's going to make them feel horrible about themselves and make them unable to function. But you need to know what the scenario is of what happens when things get worse. What happens if they don't lose that weight? What happens if they don't feel better about themselves? What are the consequences of them not taking action? What happens when they don't take action? And then how do they feel about that? So how do they feel if things get worse, or if things continue to progress down a certain path? Now, for some of you watching this, that's a big deal. For me, I know that when I'm talking about money, or I'm talking about customers, I know that I'm talking about your livelihood. For a lot of you out there, if you don't have the ability to make sales, and you don't have the ability to find your next customer, I know that for a lot of you, you're not putting food on the table. And that's a really critical mission for a lot of you who don't take action on these things, or who hear these webinars all the time and you go, yeah, this is nice, but this isn't exactly how I wanted to hear it, or this isn't the tactics I wanted, or whatever. And you just let it go and you let it go. I know that the end result of not getting that customer or not building your business is probably pretty bad in your life, because this is your livelihood and this is what you do. And some of you may have consequences that are that bad. For people who don't care about their health, it can end up in serious illness. Or for people that really struggle with self-image issues, it can really cause depression or lots of other things. So be realistic about what happens if this problem keeps going, or if they do nothing at all. And then how serious does it become? So for a lot of people, what they don't realize is if you're solving one of those moderate annoyances or mild annoyances, a lot of times that can set the house on fire if they're not paying attention to it. If they're continuing to do bad behaviors or bad things over and over and over again, a lot of times that isn't going to get them where they want to go, or it's going to progress into serious conditions, or it's going to move in that direction. And so be realistic about drawing that parallel of saying, what happens if they take no action at all? And again, these are all emotional states, because how are you going to feel if your health gets worse? How are you going to feel if every day you're frustrated over your cheese curls? How are you going to feel if these things are happening all the time? Because it does matter. It does have a measurable impact. And this stuff starts to show up in other areas. So what if they do nothing is a really important question for your product, for your service, and for your business. You've got to ask yourself that question and understand how they see that perception, or what they're not seeing if they don't make that change. And if you've got that story, great. Like for me, I told people for years, I showed that weight loss picture earlier. And for years and years, for probably 10 years before that, I really wanted to lose weight. I was somebody that was always overweight. I was somebody that struggled with eating. I had a lot of challenges with it. And I really wanted to lose weight. But it wasn't until a severe problem kicked in. And that problem for me was that I couldn't sleep. I had an issue where I would lay down and I would just lay awake in bed for hours, and I would have random phantom pains, and it was disrupting my professional life, and it was disrupting everything. And so it wasn't until then that I started to go, all right, maybe all of these benefits people have been talking about actually mean something. Or maybe when I'm standing on stage talking about transformation, or talking about marketing, or talking about success, people would take me more seriously if I could tell my story and if I could share that story. And that's just one of them. But for a lot of people, you've got to draw that consequence. There is a cost to action, i.e. whatever it costs to work with you, to buy your product, to buy your service, to do what you do. And there's a cost to not taking action, to saying, all right, just let it go, leave it, let it get worse, all of those things. So you've got to understand and clearly state what it is that happens when things get worse. And then finally, let's move to question number 5. The final question, because this was 5 questions you must ask before you start marketing. Why do they need to do something right now? Because again, if we've drawn what happens when they do it, and we understand what happens when they don't do it, now we got to say, well, why right now? Because maybe I'm totally comfortable with what happens if I don't do it, that I just get hand cramps forever with my right-handed scissors, and it doesn't really matter that much. Now, that said, you understand that you continue to develop those hand cramps, your dominant hand gets weaker, you develop health problems as an issue with it. All sorts of things could happen that are way more severe than they're realizing. And I know I'm really working this example, but for some of you out there, you have products that are annoyance products. And for some of you, yes, you have major products. And if you want me to talk about your product, go ahead and put that in the chat right now. And I'll use that as an example in a second here when we get to examples and we start answering these questions for you. And we start saying, where do you start looking for these types of answers? So why do you need to do something right now? Well, right now, why is it unique right now? So what's so special about today? What's so special about this moment that they're not going to get back again? Or what is so special about that consequence that it's really going to mean something? Is there incentive for fast action? There definitely is at this point. Is it a price incentive? Is it that they get bonuses when they react right now? Is it that, starting right now keeps them from much worse things happening in the future? All of those things are really important. What is the incentive for fast action? And then what's the opportunity? So right now, we've talked a lot about the experience and we've talked a lot about the pain. It's at this point that we can get to talking about the specifics, the how and the what. But for the most part, the how you do it or what you do it what you do isn't necessarily going to be the appealing thing. It's the emotions that are going to get them to pay attention. And then all this how and what stuff is just what we're going to do after you're already convinced or after the conversation has already started. That salesy energy that everyone's so afraid of normally comes when you haven't established the experience of what happens when they win and what happens when they lose. All those things are really critical for you to understand and to be able to say, great, what really is my opportunity, and getting them bought into how or what you do. Because for the most part, people want to negotiate how you do it or what you do. You give somebody 10 steps and they only want to do 2 of those steps because they don't like the other 8. That's the type of thing you start getting into when you try to market or sell based on how. So let's look at those motivators, because I just talked about them a lot in this. So let's talk about the 2 primary motivators. So pain and opportunity. Pop quiz for those of you watching out there. What do you think is the primary motivator, pain or opportunity? You've probably been able to figure it out as you've been listening to me on this session tonight. Is it pain or is it opportunity? Let's give you a little Jeopardy music. Do, 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 do. Type your answer in, pain or opportunity. Pain. That is correct. Pain is the correct answer. If I don't do this, then I'll never do it. Or if I can't do this now, then I'll never figure it out. Or if I pass this up now, then I'm not going to remember to do it again. Pain tends to be the thing that actually makes people make a change. So that consequence of not taking action tends to be one of the more powerful things that you can create, rather than just worrying about what happens when they win. Because for the most part, people know what they don't want more than they know what they want. People understand what they want to avoid more than what they want to accept, which is really critical in here. And so pain marketing, or focusing on that, tends to be more effective in getting people to take action. Now, I'll give another tip about that in a second, because when you talk about these things, actually becomes critical too. But opportunity. So what happens if I take action now, tomorrow feels a lot different. I feel a lot better. If I take action now, I get an amazing deal. If I take action now, then people are going to notice that I took some action. Things are going to change. If I take action now, life changes for the better. And for the most part, those are the opportunities that most people care about. Do people notice that their life is getting better? Do they get a specific result that makes people pay attention? Does it change something about the way people perceive them? Because most of all, in a product, that's what people want. I love what you said right there. Cost saving heals a relationship way more than paying attorney divorce fee. Very true. Attorneys are expensive and divorces are ugly, which is really important. The consequences of divorce you could talk about forever. They change people's lives. They burn down families. They hurt children. Like there's so much pain involved with that you can go on with it forever. And I'm going to use that example because you wanted to talk about relationship coaching, but I wanted to draw that parallel. So what's the most important lessons? All right, here's what you need to print and hang on your computer, put it on a Post-it note. A lot of you, it's better to write it down physically, even if you're taking notes on a tablet or you're taking notes on your computer. Write these down and integrate them into what you do. These 5 questions will change your campaigns. They'll change how you think about your customer. They'll change how you approach any marketing effort, paid, free, whatever. Doesn't matter. What problem do you solve? So when you offer something, what problem do you solve? Who has this problem? What will that person experience when the problem is solved? What happens if they do nothing? And why do they need to do something right now? These 5 elements are really what you need to know to be good at marketing. When you choose tactics, like it doesn't matter, free, paid, handing out flyers, placing Facebook ads, building marketing funnels, if you don't know the answer to these 5 questions, you won't be able to do any of it successfully. Or you'll lose money, or you'll chase a lot, or it'll be whatever. I love what she says it called print screen and save. You can do that too, or I'll make these available to you as well. So print screen, however you keep these questions, keep them. They're in my office. I think about them with every campaign that I run. I ask myself, regardless of whether it's a training program or a direct sales offer or a physical product for working out, doesn't matter. What problem do we solve? Who has this problem? What will the person experience when the problem is solved? What happens if they do nothing? Why do they need to do something now? So let's run through that model, because I loved what you asked. So you do relationship coaching that serves women. So it's women specifically experiencing difficulty in marriage. So that gives me some clues about your customer that are really important right there. So first of all, they're married women, which means they're probably going to be, at the very least 18 and above, but we're probably primarily looking at women that are in their, mid to late 20s all the way on to, their 50s or 60s. That's probably our core core market. Now, I know I'm making some assumptions there. You say 25 to 50. Exactly right. I think that's right. And you can test that theory. But so those are the women that we're testing. So what problem do you solve for them? I keep you from getting divorced. That's a pretty good problem to solve. Or I make your relationship loving again. Or I help you create the relationship you've always wanted. The problem that you solve is actually, in your case, is the burning building. It is so important. And if they have kids, even more so. I help keep your family intact. I bring the love back to your relationship. Those are big problems. And I know those are words, even in what I'm just saying, that people use when they describe their relationship. I just want the flame back again. I just want to feel close to that person. I want to be able to talk to that person. I want to know that he or she, well, if we're talking about women, I want to know that he cares about me. Those are the problems that they care about in this scenario. So who has this problem? We already kind of nailed that a little bit. The person that has this problem is a 25 to 50-year-old woman. That's in those cases. And so, again, getting specific with those words like we just did is really critical. So what will that person experience when the problem is solved? So obviously, in your case, that's a dramatic, memorable transformation. What they experience when the problem is solved is they have love in their relationship. They have a happy family. Their kids are intact and able to focus on what they're doing. They're able to be more productive in every other area in their life. It makes you healthier when you have a good relationship. It even makes you live longer if you look at the statistics about it that you've got there. So again, I'm giving those words, and as I'm talking to my customers or as I'm putting my marketing together, I'm using those conversations to get them from there. I love what you said, save heart disease. Exactly true. It does that to you when the problem is solved. What happens if they do nothing? They're probably on the path to divorce, or they're on the path that's worse than divorce. And I love this quote. I've seen it a lot. Is a lot of people think the opposite of love is hate. It's not. The opposite of love is apathy. So people who are stuck in apathetic relationships or relationships where they don't really want to be there, or they don't really care about each other, or they're really struggling to do what they do, is a fate worse than just getting the divorce in the first place. Divorce is a painful process, but for a lot of people, being involved in an apathetic relationship is even worse. So both of those consequences matter, and apathy probably is not the word, but you want to, being in a loveless marriage or being in a loveless relationship is a horrible, horrible place to be for the person in it, and for the person that and for the kids and for the family. It's horrible for everybody. So if they do nothing, chances are that'll lead down a road that leads to major health issues or major mental health issues if they don't start taking care of that issue now. And why they need to do something now is every day they wait, the problem gets worse. So every day you wait and you don't take action, the less communication, the more resentment grows, the more it's doing damage to the other people in your life and your other relationships. So in your case, you have what I love about what you've got a fairly obvious conclusion right there. We know who we're talking to. We know what we're talking to them about. We know how they're going to experience, what's possible for them on the other side. And those words are very clear and easy to communicate. So let's talk about some other ones, because there's some things in here that might be a little bit more challenging. For some of you, that might be mild annoyance, or that might have products that aren't as obvious as that one is, which has some obvious consequences. So let's talk about an anti-aging cream, which anti-aging is basically the biggest wing of direct sales. It's one of the biggest types of products that women buy, especially as they get into that age. So what problem do they solve? I make you look and feel younger. So when you have an anti-aging cream, I make you look and feel younger. So the hope of that cream is, when I'm out, I feel like I look old. Or when I'm out, I feel like I look beyond my age. Or when I'm out, I have bags under my eyes. We're dealing with a problem that, some people may be even uncomfortable talking about. Who has this problem? Really, anybody that's aging. So we're probably talking about anybody that's over the age of 30 and above, with a target market that's probably really in the 40s and 50s that are important there. What did that person experience when the problem is solved? So when the problem is solved, they look and feel younger. They act more confident. They feel more attractive to their friends, to other people. If they're single, that's a huge difference. That's a big market for this, is they feel more attracted to the opposite sex. So what do they experience when the problem is solved? They look and feel younger. What happens if they do nothing? Well, what happens is you look older and the problem gets worse. You get more embarrassed. You're afraid to go out. You're afraid to meet new people. You feel resentful about your situation. It makes you bitter about other things in your life. So again, notice I'm focused on the emotional terms and the emotional words around this, rather than just saying what happens. Instead of just saying your wrinkles get worse, which you can say that, we're focused on the emotional side of it. Why do they need to do something now? The sooner they take action, the more likely it is they'll be able to have more of an impact on the problem. So if you take action now, you'll have less wrinkles, you'll have less problems to deal with, and you'll start the healing process or the recovery process now for what you're doing. So again, anti-aging cream, that's what's going on. Let's talk about custom jewelry. So again, we're dealing with the vanity problem right there, but what problem do you solve? I want to be more attractive to people, or I want people to notice me in a certain way. And that doesn't necessarily have to mean a relationship way, depending on what your custom jewelry is. It just means that you want people to look at you in a specific way. You don't wear jewelry if you don't want people to notice it. So the problem you solve is you want people to notice you. So that's what we're focused on. Who has this problem? Well, it depends on the type of jewelry. You know, men love watches. There are lots of men that love necklaces and other types of jewelry too. So it could be men or women. You're probably dealing with the majority female audience on this, but there's lots of people who might need jewelry or who want to show that stuff off to people. It's saying something about them and their personality to other people. What will that person experience when the problem is solved? Obviously, when they go out, they'll grab people's attention. People will get the message that they're trying to send. They'll look more sophisticated. They'll look more attractive. They'll look more relatable. Whatever it is, they'll look more wealthy. You know, in the case of men who want to wear expensive watches, they want to look more wealthy. Whatever it is, it's what do they want to perceive? That's what happens. You look and feel a certain way. If they do nothing, then they're going to be jealous and envious of people that do have those things. Or you could talk about, you know, when you feel that resentment of somebody who has the style that you want, or you're looking across the room going, man, I wish I looked like that. This is kind of the core marketing you've been seeing for years in visual advertising. Why do they need to do something now? Because again, they want to feel that confidence, that attractiveness, whatever that trait is right now. You don't want to wait another day and let those things stick in you. Gourmet coffee or tea. So what problem do you solve? You help people get up in the morning. Or you help people relax, or you give people comfort. That's what coffee or tea does for somebody. Who has this problem? Pretty much everybody, you know, and again, depending on you. So in this business, it's really depending on you. What are you about? How do you talk to people? Where are your strengths and weaknesses? Since it's pretty universal to drink coffee or tea, you've got to think about your strengths and how you relate to people when you're talking about that, because chances are you're going to be most effective in the verticals that you have the most experience in, or where you work the most in. What will the person experience when the problem is solved? Again, comfort, relaxation. They'll feel soothed. They'll be more awake and alert during the day. They'll feel, you know, they'll enjoy their day more when that's launched right. Or if you're dealing with people who struggle without it, you're helping keep them from hurting people in their lives. Whatever it is, that's what's happening. What happens if they do nothing? You know, these are the pictures that you see of the cheese curl guy. They spill their cheese curls everywhere. They can't function. They're not as alert. They're not as attentive. They're not as happy in their lives. Why they need to do something now? Because they need that feeling. Without it, and if that increases over time, they don't feel as comfortable in what they're doing. Closet organizer, I put that one here. So the problem that they solve, again, your closet's a mess, or you're sick of your closet being a mess, or you're sick of your house being a mess. Whatever it is, that's what you need. Who has this problem? Most people that have houses, especially people that have kids. You know, so you're probably, again, primarily women in this market, but lots of people have this problem. What will that person experience when the problem is solved? It's easier to find their stuff. They feel more comfortable. They get ready faster in the morning, or they put stuff away faster when they're doing laundry. They're more comfortable in their home is really the focus that we're looking at. What happens if they do nothing? They go crazy because the mess gets worse. The pile gets bigger. They go crazy. When do they need to do something now? Because the longer that it waits, the more crazy that they get. And if your home is disorganized, your life tends to be disorganized. So in this case, again, focusing on the emotion. And then a marketing training program. I'm going to give you an example tonight as we move to a close, because obviously there's something that I want all of you who are watching this to do. So again, those 5 questions, print them off. That's your first homework for tonight. What problem do you solve? Who has this problem? What does that person experience when the problem is solved? What happens if they do nothing, and why do they need to do something now? And I'm going to give you an example for a marketing program, because for over 16 years, that's been my game. I've trained small businesses on marketing and sales, finding your next customer. And in that time, I've worked with over 100 different consulting clients, and I've worked with over 6,600 small businesses. And that's probably the low end of the estimate. It's probably been a lot more than that in my events over 10 years and working with various speakers and various companies to get where I'm going. So I love this conversation. I hope it's been clear from this webinar tonight. And I love working on people's problems. And thank you so much to those of you that have been active in the chat tonight, because that makes this so much more fun for me to talk about what you're doing and what you want. And if you have trouble with these questions, or if you have trouble with the specifics, because now that you've got the answers, the next step is to go, I've got an answer. How do I choose where I'm going to find this person? Or what do I use? Or if I want to place an ad, or now I need to know what I should put in that ad, or I've got these answers. How do I get them together? That's what we do here at Explore Momentum. That is our company. And it's what we do is help you get the answers to those questions, help you understand what works, help you get your next customer. And so what we've been doing over the last few weeks is we've been creating this membership site. It's called Your Momentum Now. And it's really specific goals. We help you find your next customer. We help you grow your list. We help you fill your events or sell your programs. And we help you make more sales. Doesn't matter if it's product, service, training, coaching programs, whatever it is. That's what we've been doing for the last 10 years. And that's really what we're about in Your Momentum Now. So our goal here and what we do, just like tonight, is we combine tactical business training with support. So a lot of you will buy programs that teach you lots of skills. There are lots of great skill building programs out there to teach you Facebook ads, to teach you how to build your website, to teach you how to grow your database, to teach you how to manage your database, to teach you how to create content. We not only give you that stuff, which is the teaching you how to do it, but we combine that with support so that you can go ask questions. You can get answers. You can learn specific stuff about your business and what you're experiencing. That's what we've been building for the past couple of months here. And so I just want to give you some examples of what's involved in it. So in this program, what you're actually going to get, and I'm sneak peeking, I'm jumping ahead, is you're actually going to get access to over 15 different programs, and it grows every single month. We have new trainings that we add every single month based on what the community needs. So maybe it's about products, maybe it's about launches, maybe it's about funnels. All those things are part of Your Momentum Now. So most people start with create your 90-day plan. So it's actually about creating a plan that you actually want to complete. It's linking your passion and your purpose to your goals. So creating goals that aren't like in a vacuum that you don't care about or that you write down and then you never look at again, and knowing exactly what to do each day. So I normally sell this product. If you see it in the store or you see it online, I normally sell it for $29. So that's included in the membership. And then Smart Marketing. It's a program that I developed that's really about how do you integrate your marketing efforts. So I talked about sales and recruiting and all these other things. So the SMART system is, how does your marketing fit into the rest of your business? So how does it link seamlessly? How does starting conversations relate to your accounting department? Or how does it relate to keeping those customers? Or how does it relate to training? All of those things matter in each area, and none of them are standalone. So just because you've learned how to market or find a customer doesn't mean you learn how to grow a business. That's what Smart Marketing teaches you. And that's also $29 if you find it anywhere else. It's one of my intro products that I use. That's included in your membership. And then 5 reasons your business will fail and how to avoid them. So you hear the scary stats that 8 out of 10 businesses will fail within the first 10 years of doing business. And most of them fail in the first year. So a lot of you got to understand how to avoid those pitfalls, because they're not just lack of sales. In fact, a lot of times it's too many sales that tip businesses over. It's scale that tips business over, not necessarily lack of trying. So you got to understand how to scale, how to measure, how to get your business out of survival mode. That's what this program teaches. And again, it's another starter program we offer for $29. That's included in your membership. So now you're up to $87 just with those 3. And you heard me mention the number 15, which we're getting to in a second here. So 1, 2, 3, 4 marketing basics, put all the systems in place. So a lot of you need the strategic to say, what do I need? How do I pick my website? How do I pick my database? How do I email my customers? What types of channels do I pick for marketing? All those things that are super critical, you got to know how to do it. So you want to be able to put those systems in place. use systems that'll grow your business, stay on top of the technology that creates the access. And this is actually a more in-depth program. So when you buy this separately, it's $49 when we sell it. That's included with the membership. So now we're up to $116 in the membership if you just went to the store and bought all the stuff separately. And then I'm just going to jump ahead because I mentioned right now, today, there's 8 additional training series in there. And there's new series that we're adding each month. We do it on Thursdays, actually, and they're called Breakout Thursdays. So some of them are from me, some of them are from my team, and we're bringing on a lot of you who want to be guest experts or you have great training programs, and that's what you want to do. So this is growing over time, and a lot of my friends who are some of the biggest speakers in the world are going to be providing content for what we do right here. So they're coming in to be involved in this too. So I put a value of $152 on here because I know what those programs are worth, but it's going to be worth more than that. So now we're up to $268 that you would spend if you went, all right, I'm going to go through this program and this program and this program. And none of this covers the support part. None of it covers what I talked about for asking questions, getting answers, going through the example. So we've included a community piece with this. You get to ask questions and get support from me. I answer most of them, and the rest of my team and these other experts that I'm bringing in. In fact, they're going to be on our live Q&A calls that we offer each month for you to ask them questions. And we're going to talk about publishing, internet marketing, building a business, how to get paid speaking gigs is something that's coming up. All sorts of programs that we're adding to this community that help you get there. And we're bringing those experts for you to ask questions. You'll find teammates and partners. There's awesome people in already who are a part of our founding membership. And you got to know exactly what to do each day. So what is your effort each day to build your business and to grow what you're doing? And so that community support, again, I think it's worth more than that, but I just threw $99 on it because that's what I paid. I actually ran a program in the past that charged $149 for just the community piece, just to be part of the group and just to get your questions answered and get what you get as part of that. So now we're up to $367. So you can go out and buy all these things separately. You can find them around my world. You can click on my Facebook ads. You can do all that you do and buy these programs separately. But I just said we have so many programs. We have all of this stuff together. I just want to put it together so that you pay one price. You get access to everything. As we add new stuff and new starter programs, you get access to that. And so that's what we did. That's what's called Your Momentum Now. And so since I mentioned that you stayed to the end, I'm going to throw in an extra bonus that I wouldn't normally throw in for this. For those of you that have stuck around, you've watched this whole thing, and it's really critical for you to get this bonus because it's the hottest thing. It's what I've been asked for months and months and months because it's what my team and my company is focused on, which is Facebook ads. So we created a course that's 8 hours long, and it's called How to Create Facebook Ads from Scratch. If you've never done paid advertising in your life, this is the course that gets you started. It's not starting at step 5 or 6. It's starting at step 1, like where we were tonight, of how do you approach it? How do you think about it? You will use these 5 questions every single day in that process. But you got to know how to start from scratch. So we do screen shares, we do demonstrations, we do how do you build that audience on Facebook, or how do you bring in your existing audience? How do you build the offer page? All of that stuff is included in this course, and we talked about it. It was huge and in-depth that we've included. And if you've never done it before, you've never done it before. And we charge $95 for that course when people started. So you get that since you've stayed to the end when you join the membership. And so $462 if you click ads, if you wander around my system, if you find your way to my store, you buy all of these things independently. And we are offering a founders phase membership because we just started this. We have lots of people in our various programs, but the community is really what I want to do. It's what I'm passionate about. And we're going to charge $25 a month for people that are going to join this going forward and get all the access to stay as part of this community. For you staying, you get Facebook ads, which other members of the community will not get going forward. And you lock in a price for your membership for life of $9.95 a month, of $9.55 a month. It's actually less than that, which I'm going to show you in a second. So if all this package does is gets you the answer to one question that's had you stuck, if it helps you find your next customer way more easily and gets you where you want to go, if it gets you more focused and organized, and if it teaches you how to scale your business, which I know it can do all of those things, but if it just did one, if it got you one customer for $10 a month, if it got you one customer a month, and that's all it took to get you there, which I know for most of you in here, then that would be enough. But for a lot of you, I know that it's going to get you all of these things. And in fact, I have a story I'm going to share in a second about what we do there. And so again, all of these things are included. All of our starter programs and momentum are included, and Facebook ads for those of you that stuck around for $9.55 a month. That is your price. You lock it in when you become a founders member of this program, and you can get it at exploremomentum.com/now. So because we want you to do it now. And that's why our community is about now, not tomorrow, not yesterday, now. So how do we get you results right now? And so now you got two things you can do. And this is exactly what I told you in those questions. You can do nothing. You can continue to go out and seek gurus and strategies and templates. I know those of you who are on webinar, this is probably not the first webinar that you've had at this point that you've been on. You've probably been on a lot. You've probably heard a lot of marketing people. A lot of people sell you on the results and what they're doing. And you can keep doing that and hunt around to find the information and maybe find what you need, or maybe sit through sales pitches, or maybe whatever it is, and you can figure it out. Or you can join a community, you get the result, you get the commitment, you have tons and tons of training at your disposal, and we find you new customers. And so again, it's a money back guarantee. So here's the other thing. You cannot lose on this offer at this point. If you get in and you look at all those programs and you look at all the training and you actually manage to get through all of it in a week, which I don't think most of you will, but let's say you do, you get through all of it in a week because that's all you do for that week that you're in there. And if you complete it and you spend the time with us, you spend that week with us and you're like, this isn't for me, that $10 or $9.55 that I spend, it's just too much. It's just not enough for me at this point. Ask for your money back and I will give you the money back. I will give you your $9.55 back, period. No questions asked. You can just say, not for me, I'm leaving. That's fine. Give it back. And I didn't go into business to just be a guru. I hope that was obvious for tonight, especially with my choice of images on this. But I don't just go into this to be a guru. I love helping people. I do this program because this is what I do in life. It's my purpose to work with people. I love working with people. I love working with real problems. I want to help. I want you to be able to find your next customer, all those things. And then here's my story from today. So part of what I do in the Facebook group every single day is I do a Facebook Live, and we have different themes that we do. But today, one of our members, Kim, who I'm so grateful to have in our community, she's an amazing person, helps people conquer chaos. So she submitted all of her materials to me. She said, here's my flyer, here's my landing page, here's my stuff. I just want you to tell me the truth because I need people in my event, and here's what I'm doing. And so I spent 45 minutes going through her material and saying, here's what I noticed. Here's how it looks. Here's all the issues with it. Here's what you do to fix it. And like, here's what you're going to do today. And she's actually in a short window because her event is in less than a week at this point. And so she said, this was awesome. Thanks so much. You told me more in 45 minutes than all the marketing people I've hired to help me. I'll do what I change, and I'm going to watch this multiple times because I talk fast. I already warned of that. And I said after this in the response, what you can't see is I said, this is like the best testimonial ever. Can I please share this and get this going? And so I did. I shared it here. And so I'm so grateful to have her, and I'm so grateful to have all of you that join us tonight. And again, you lock in that founder's price and you get access to all that stuff. So $9.55 a month, less than $10 for spending this time. Get those 5 questions answered. If you need help with them, that's what the community is here for, to get you support, to get you training. exploremomentum.com/now. And I have one final testimonial. It's Arnold Schwarzenegger saying, do it now. Your momentum now. exploremomentum.com/now. You can get it $9.55 a month. Lock in your price. Get support. Get moving. I hope to see all of you out there. And as I mentioned, this is going up to $25 a month very, very soon. So I'm not going to keep this offer available forever. So if you don't take advantage of it now, then you're not going to lock in that founder's price, and you're not going to get the Facebook ads course, which is not going to be included in the course going forward because we've already got 14 other courses that are in there that is meeting that amount of info. So your momentum now. I want to see you all there. $9.55 a month, exploremomentum.com/now. And we'll see you on future trainings, future webinars, and in our community. Thanks so much for your time, and I'm grateful for you. Get those questions answered. I promise you'll see a result in everything that you do in your business. And I'm going to throw that link up on the screen here too. I forgot that I put it in here. So for those of you who want to click it, there's a link you can click right there. Just click the button, exploremomentum.com/now. We'll see you soon. Thank you so much for being a part of this, and see you on our future webinars.